guys, and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making cinnamon rolls and I thought I'd share my recipe, although I never use a recipe when I'm cooking or baking, so I guess I'll just have a visual representation of what I do when I bake cinnamon rolls. So I have prepared some stuff already. So what I did, I took this mug full of milk, heated it up, added about 25 grams of butter, melted all that in, threw that in the bowl, and then threw in about half of this cup of cold water to cool it down, and then I let it cool down to about room temperature, and then added about half a cup of or quarter cup of sugar and added my sachet of yeast, and now it's been sitting for 10 minutes letting the yeast bloom, and as you can see there are some nice bubbles in here. That means I didn't kill the yeast. That is a win. That's the first win. Didn't kill the yeast. I'm trying to attempt to make enough cinnamon rolls to fill this little tin, and I only have about this much of regular flour. I have a feeling it's not going to be enough, so I have some full grain flour. It's also fine, I've used this in cinnamon rolls. And then later I have the cinnamon roll filling, but for now we need to make the dough, because the dough needs to rest and rise for about an hour or up to 2 hours in a warm place. Okay, so this mixture of yeast, milk, butter and sugar has been sitting for 10 minutes, and now it's time to add the flour. I'm gonna sieve it in just to make it as lump-free as possible. I'm just gonna plop this whole thing in because I know I'm not gonna have enough. And every time you're making something sweet, you gotta add some salt. I have some pink Himalayan salt. Just gonna sieve it in. And what I'm making is an enriched dough, and this is the secret to, at least that's my secret to really good cinnamon rolls and all kinds of pastry. Enriched dough means that you add butter or other kinds of fat in it. So I have butter and milk, which is gonna make a really nice soft pillowy dough. See, I'm gonna make a lot of dough. I usually don't know how much dough I'm gonna end up with when I start, but I can see this is a lot of dough. And now my other secret to amazing cinnamon rolls is cardamom. If you don't like cardamom in your cinnamon rolls, please don't eat any cinnamon rolls. I might have to go into the shops and buy more flour, I have a feeling. Ideally you would make it with like normal flour, but didn't go to the shops yesterday and didn't get more flour. But you want to get a kneadable dough. This is not kneadable. Okay, so I actually had to run to the shops and get more flour, because that much whole grain flour was not going to work out. I don't think you can really make a like 100% whole grain flour dough. Just wouldn't bind that well, I imagine. Okay, so now this is looking way better. This is how it's supposed to look. It's really soft, and it's getting softer. Okay, I feel like this is almost enough. It's still a bit sticky, so I'm gonna add just the tiniest bit more flour. And now with yeasted dough or any bready dough, you want to knead it, because kneading it builds gluten structure, and gluten structure is what gives all that fluffiness and softness and pillowness. Pillowness isn't the word, but it is now. Anyway, gluten does all that. And to build the gluten, or like build the gluten bonds, you have to knead it in every possible direction. And I think when making cinnamon rolls or any kind of like sweet dough or sweets, being healthy is the last thing that should be on your mind, because you know, I mean, it's cinnamon rolls. Okay, so this dough is looking pretty good. Ideally, you would knead it for 10 plus minutes. I'm gonna knead it for another 2 or 3 and then leave it in a warm place. I'm gonna put some cling film on top of the bowl and I'm gonna let it rise in a warm place, other known as next to the coffee machine and oven. We'll see about this dough in about an hour, 2 hours tops. It's gonna rise beautifully and be really soft and nice, and then I'm gonna make the filling and roll it out, roll it into rolls, pop it in the oven. So I'll see you in a few hours. Okay, it's been around 1.5 hours and the dough is proofed. It's looking pretty. I'm gonna put my gloves on. No, I'm not gonna put my gloves on yet because we're gonna make the filling. I'm just gonna let that chill for a few minutes and then we're gonna roll it out, but we need the filling. So here I have about 75 grams of butter. Forgot to take it out from the fridge, so I just popped it in a warm oven and now it's like half melted, which is great. So I have 3 different kinds of sugar here. Actually, this is raw cane sugar. This gives more caramelly taste, and this literally makes caramel. It's like a dark brown sugar. So we're just gonna eyeball this. White sugar is, I guess I'm gonna use white sugar to make it 3 sugars. I want to make the filling really, really nice and oozing and amazing. So I'm being really generous with sugar here, because as I mentioned previously, when you're making something as amazing as cinnamon rolls, you shouldn't really care about the health factor. That's obviously not enough. That might be enough, but we'll see. Okay, that looks great. Maybe I'll add more sugar at the end, but we'll see. Okay, it's rolling time. And as I mentioned previously, don't want to get any dough under my fingernails, and I don't really like to get my hands dirty or floury. Oh, look at that. That's the magic of gluten. All those gluten buns are gonna rise up even higher and be amazing. Okay, you ready? I'm gonna punch it. Okay, it's deflating now. Just scraping the edge of the ball. I want to get it out in one ball. So we have flour. Generously flour your workbench. Okay, I'm gonna plunk this bad boy out. Will it come out? Okay, so that's a lot of dough. Just gonna give it a quick knead. I'm gonna try to form it into a rectangle-y shape, just so it would be easier to roll into a rectangle. Okay, so floured rolling pin, floured surface, let's roll. And the way I like to roll is I move it quite a bit. I turn it 45 degrees. That is 40, no, that's 90 degrees. I turn it 90 degrees every few rolls. And the development of, and I also flip it like that. Yeah, that's gonna create a mess. Development of gluten is great, amazing, we love it, but it also makes this rolling business a bit harder, because as you roll it, it wants to come back, as you can see. And that's a sign of a really good gluten development. All those gluten bonds that we built, all the friendships that the gluten developed. Okay, I'm gonna flip it and stretch it the tiniest bit. Now, do you remember the cake pan that I was trying to fit this cinnamon roll thingy into? Well, it's a good thing I have two of those cake pans, because this is gonna be a lot of cinnamon rolls, which is great because we're having guests over and I hope they like cinnamon rolls. I'm trying to roll it quite thin, like this, thin maybe, like half a centimeter less, like 3 millimeters, because I want to see lots and lots of swirls. I'm not one for a really bready cinnamon roll or pastry of any kind. I want lots of filling. I want to see lots of swirls in my cinnamon rolls. Slab is massive, let me show you. It is massive. Look at my hand and look at the size of this. Not sure if I made enough filling for this, but let's see. So you want to decide which way you're gonna roll. I think I'm gonna roll that way, because I can still have a lot of swirls and a lot of rolls. So I'm gonna focus most of my filling on the 2/3, and this last part is whatever really. Filling, so more sugar, more cinnamon, I mean, this is gonna be great. You know, just in case, because you can't add any filling. And I want the center to be extra gooey. And sugar is gonna melt and caramelize. It's gonna be extra gooey. Okay, so I hope that's enough. Now let's roll. The first centimeter or a few centimeters I flip over and kind of push in, and then I start to roll really tightly. Really sharp knife. I'm gonna cut off the really end bits. Those are Baker Street. And I'm gonna halve it, obviously, because it doesn't fit here. And let's see. Those are beautiful swirls. Oh my god. I haven't preheated my oven yet, because this is gonna go through a second proofing. That's gonna really make the rolls rise. Okay, different perspective again. I want to cut about centimeter wide. Okay, so we have our tin here. Let's start assembling this. I'm gonna put one in the middle, and then these bad boys around it. Oh my god, that looks so beautiful. I want to leave some space between them, but honestly, these are gonna be cramped in here, and that's fine as well. So, Estonia people don't really use a round tin for cinnamon rolls. We just bake them in a cookie sheet, but I like to use the round tins just so they kind of all grow together and it becomes like a pull apart bread type thing. I'm gonna get some cling film and lightly, gently drape it on top of these. I'm gonna preheat my oven to about 190 to 100 degrees Celsius, and then we're gonna pop these guys into the oven for let's start with 19 minutes, but I'll see you before I pop this into the oven to show you how much they've grown, because right now they're like centimeter thick, as you can see. So they're gonna rise just a bit more. As you can see, these have risen again beautifully. They're a bit thicker, they're a bit wider than before, and they look amazing. Okay, so to make the icing, I'm gonna use two things: icing, sugar, and milk. So I'm gonna use a lot of sugar, probably like all the sugar I have here. That's almost all of it. So that is 500 grams, so that's about 300 here, I think. And I'm gonna add like the tiniest bit of milk. Okay, a few teaspoons. I'm gonna start mixing and see how it feels. That's a bit too thick still. I want a lump-free icing. Could have used a whisk, but a spoon will do a fine job as well. I just had a cinnamon roll from this unglazed one, and I must say it was amazing. So that was it. That was my cinnamon bun recipe video. Hope you got some tips and encouragement to make your own cinnamon rolls. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you have anything to say, any comments, questions, whatever, leave me a comment in the comment section, obviously. Okay. Our guests are arriving soon. I hope they like the cinnamon buns, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye!